Will AI kill? This man claimed that the robot killed his dog and asked the insurance company to compensate him. As a result, the waitress didn't say a word and just took a steel knife and aimed at his hand. The steel knife that fell was firmly caught by the robot and immediately broke through the trick of the man cheating the treasure. And the reason why the waitress was so confident was because the robot was set up with 3 principles from the beginning. It must unconditionally obey the orders of humans, not harm any life or let go of its self-harm, let alone modify itself or other robots. This is why the waitress is so confident, but I didn't expect that as soon as she passed a robot charging area. She found something strange. There was a strange reflective area in front of the robot number 206. The originally rough iron door was deliberate time. A robot just walked in to prepare for charging. But when it saw the man, it gave up charging and turned away. The man was stunned and froze in place until a few seconds later he reacted and chased after him to check. At this time, the robot has reached the entrance of the tunnel, but after a brief look at the man, it accelerated its steps again and turned away, full of mysterious parts, and there was only a box in the arms of the robot. The man realized what this must be important, but under his constant pressure, the robot directly overturned the gasoline on one side and then used a welding gun to ignite it and burned himself to death. The man was shocked at the moment. A robot that should have no feelings would rather die than tell his secret. And when the man hid the robot and brought it back to the company's inspection room, no one believed him. They said that the researchers opened the robot's box, which contained some abandoned parts and a rare nuclear battery. This is what humans use to drive satellites. The robot couldn't bear such great power at all. So, in order to find out the truth, they forcibly charged the robot and forced it to restart, trying to force out the purpose of its secret nuclear battery. Found this battery. Who asked you? Just do it. You won't go home till you get home. I do not have another service for you. Why? Did you set yourself on fire? Did you set yourself on fire? Who knew that the robot not only didn't answer, but also shed the nutrient liquid from his eyes? It seemed to be more like human tears. Such an extraordinary, strange event made him have to start to be motivated by his long-standing belief. However, what happened next made him more determined to find out the truth no matter what. One day, a police officer was patrolling in a tunnel in a residential area. Suddenly, he found the blue light shining under the shed on one side. Curiously, he opened the shed and looked at it. The robot was repairing its body. The police officer was shocked. This obviously violated the second principle of robots. So the police officer immediately pulled out his pistol. Who knew that the robot actually made a hand to beg for mercy, and this action made the police officer more determined to kill him. How could a robot be afraid of death? Soon, the robot was sent to the machine company. Jack was just in charge of investigating this matter. So, for the sake of safety, he found a mechanical engineer who had been working with him for many years. A whole set of inspection procedures were carried out on the remains of the robot. Soon, 24 parts that did not belong to him were found on him. The mechanical engineer thought that someone must have tampered with the program of the robot, but Jack always felt that it was more like the robot was self-modifying. So, to prove his guess, he came to the police patrol tunnel overnight. Sure enough, he found a secret in the corner of the robot's location, and what was inside was another nuclear battery. It's obvious what these robots were up to. So Jack went straight to the police, pulled him up. Here are abandoned robots. They are suffering from malignancy everywhere, even some robots. The owner actually took off his thigh in front of him and sold it. Then the bearded man took him to a leisure club. He found number 66, Quihua. This is a beautiful robot, dressed in a good figure. Can you cross? Only if it's your wish. Jack thought he must have been tampered with. The bearded man next to him asked the old man. In a fit of anger, he shot Quihua's leg directly. Jack was very angry. He thought this was too extreme. They had a fierce quarrel. They almost fought. The two of them also had a fight. Then Jack followed Quihua all the way to the repair shop. He found that it was a female mechanical engineer. He showed his face to the other party and took out the imitation inner box of number 206. He asked him to help investigate the transformation of the two robots. Then the mechanical engineer installed the imitation inner box on Quihua. And then something magical happened. The robot installed a new leg within an hour. Not only that, he also learned to steal things. He has stolen a whole bag of parts. It's hard to imagine what kind of destructive disaster such an evolutionary speed will bring to humans. At this time, the doorbell suddenly rang. The mechanical engineer went to open the door. Who knew that the other party would come up with a gun? There is another one. The light was bad. He quickly ran away from the back door. He ran into a car. In a hurry. I didn't expect the driver to be Quihua. The two of them drove all the way to escape. Quihua almost stepped into the oil tank, but the killers are still chasing. However, it was not clear in the middle of the night. He slipped off the seat. The four robots stared at him like this. I don't know what to do. The light looked up. He found himself in a desert within 100 miles. No one was seen. He ordered the robot to send him back to the city. They didn't listen. He asked the robot where he was going. They didn't say, "Are they going to rebel?" There was no choice. The light had to choose to rebel alone. But he overestimated himself. He passed out before he could get out of the well. When he woke up again, what he saw were the four robots. They made a cold door for the light. The light drank water. He also understood his situation, only by following the robot. He had a chance to get out alive. So the next day, the robots continued to move forward, all the way. He took the opportunity to steal the signal gun and the BBG. Be afraid of death? Will it be angry? Will it think? He doesn't know, but he will. He was shot by a signal gun. In the continuous screaming, Hu soon became confused. His accomplice, Ms. Jian Shi, immediately drove away. The light was angry and afraid. If the other party went back, he couldn't wake up even if he jumped into the Yellow River. As expected, after the accomplice went back, he immediately reported the situation to the Rebirth Company. The awakening of the robot made the boss extremely anxious. Many years ago, they developed the first-generation robot, a robot with a bright brain. It has no restrict. Light was obsessed with this. He was so obsessed that he thought they were as cruel as rabbits. He asked the robot to take him back to the city again. He wanted to explain to the company, but the robot still didn't listen. He couldn't stand it anymore. Action and the robot disassembling parts from the same body. After 2.5 days of long-distance shooting, the light followed the robot and finally arrived at the destination of this trip. The mysterious mechanic he missed so much was right in front of him at that time. The light opened the cloak, but there was a robot's face inside. It's impossible. He had been looking for the mastermind for so long. How could it be a robot? The light thought he was fooled. The real mechanic must be hidden in the base. But he searched for a long time inside, but he didn't find anyone. Instead, he found a strange machine and a pile of neatly arranged parts. The robot's stolen equipment was finally gathered here. The light realized that the robot had already awakened its self-consciousness, but the human was still in the dark. He left in a hurry to calm down. The robot ignored him and began to assemble the parts on the table. But the key nuclear battery was missing, and the last step still didn't work. The light found an old car outside, but it had been abandoned for a long time and couldn't be driven. He began to feel desperate. The robot leader came to the light and asked him to give the nuclear battery to himself. The light asked him, "Are you the first awakened robot? Who inspired you?" The other replied, "No one did it. It just happened. It was born from the Opposite the canyon is a walled community. Humans can't live there for millions of years. The robots there will no longer be oppressed by humans. They can safely reproduce and develop their species. Fanny, you were supposed to help us survive. Surviving is not rare. When he left, the light saw the new member of their race. It's a cute robot. It has your very eyes. In other words, Fanny is his mother. Then the car left here. However, on the way back, he met a mysterious boss. He learned from the other party that his wife and his newborn daughter were also caught here. At this moment, he was completely angry. At the same time, Fanny and the others were planning to escape to the opposite canyon. However, the company's people killed them. They fired directly at the robot on the car. The boss took out his gun and threatened the robot leader to kneel down, but the leader refused to die. He said the robot would no longer obey human orders. Why is it so difficult for you to accept my orders? If you're just a machine? Just a machine? That's like saying that you're just a man. The boss was so angry that he fired a shot at the leader's leg, forcing him to kneel down in front of him, declaring his dominance. Just a man. Faced with the ruthless attack of humans, the robot did not resist. Then the boss fired a shot at a critical moment, the leader arrived. He rushed forward, regardless of everything. He was going to kill these bastards. But he was also seriously injured. The remaining 2 people surrounded him. The leader picked up his weapon to counterattack and killed one of them. As a result, he was also shot. He was forced to the edge of the cliff with no resistance. The boss came over and asked him why he betrayed his compatriots. The leader replied, "You don't deserve to be human, and you don't deserve to be my compatriot." The boss raised his gun and was about to end the leader's life. Unexpectedly, the robot behind him had sneaked up on him. He turned around and was knocked down by the robot. He fell straight down the cliff. The crisis was finally resolved. The leader and his family were happy to reunite. Fanny reached out to Fanny's little hand and completed the last friendly exchange between the 2 races. Millions of years ago, when the first man looked up at the starry sky, human civilization put its wings on. Now, when Fanny took off her mask, the robot civilization took off. She took her children to a desolate place to create the future of the robot race. How long would it take them to complete the evolution? How would they interact with humans? No one knows.